James Monroe, early life and career. James Monroe was born in rural Virginia into a hardworking middle-class family. His father was a plantation owner and carpenter, while his mother was an educated woman who introduced him to learning at an early age. From childhood, Monroe displayed intelligence and a strong eagerness to learn. He attended a prestigious school in Virginia, where he was exposed to Enlightenment ideas and the growing spirit of freedom sweeping through the American colonies. However, Monroe's academic journey was cut short by the American Revolution. When war broke out, he left school to join the Continental Army, demonstrating both patriotism and resilience. During his service, he took part in several key battles, including the fierce Battle of Trenton, where he was wounded but continued to fight. His courage and leadership skills earned him rapid promotions, making him a trusted officer under top military commanders. After the war, Monroe returned to civilian life and pursued a career in politics. He studied law under Thomas Jefferson, one of the most influential American leaders of the time. This mentorship was invaluable, allowing Monroe to refine his political thinking and establish connections with key figures in government. Entering the political arena, Monroe quickly proved his capabilities. He was elected to the Virginia State Legislature and later to the Continental Congress, where he contributed to important discussions about the future of the young nation. He also served as a diplomat in France, playing a crucial role in maintaining relations between the two allied nations, especially as France underwent the upheavals of its own revolution. Monroe's extensive military and political experience laid a strong foundation for his future career, setting the stage for his significant contributions to the United States in the decades to come. James Monroe's contributions to politics and diplomacy. James Monroe was one of the most influential statesmen in shaping the growth and expansion of the United States. Throughout his career, he played a key role in both building the government and shaping the nation's long-term diplomatic strategy. One of Monroe's most significant contributions was his involvement in the Louisiana Purchase. When the U.S. government saw an opportunity to expand its territory, Monroe was sent to France to negotiate with Napoleon Bonaparte. With his diplomatic skills and flexibility in negotiations, he helped secure a highly favorable deal, acquiring the vast Louisiana territory at a fraction of its actual value. This purchase nearly doubled the size of the United States, opening up economic opportunities and paving the way for westward expansion. Beyond Louisiana, Monroe was instrumental in resolving territorial disputes with Britain and Spain. In negotiations with Britain, he helped establish a stable border between the U.S. and Canada, reducing the risk of conflict and strengthening diplomatic ties. With Spain, Monroe played a key role in the Adams-Onis Treaty, which allowed the U.S. to acquire Florida without resorting to war, an important diplomatic victory that expanded American influence in the Southeast. Monroe's impact was not limited to territorial expansion. He also made lasting contributions to domestic policy. As Secretary of State, he focused on strengthening national sovereignty, ensuring that the U.S. remained independent from European conflicts. He also played a crucial role in protecting the American economy from foreign competition by promoting policies that supported domestic industries. Additionally, Monroe was a unifying leader. He worked to reduce partisan divisions, fostering a sense of national unity within the government and among the people. His leadership helped usher in a period of stability and growth, laying the groundwork for America's future advancements. James Monroe's political and diplomatic achievements not only expanded U.S. territory, but also helped shape the nation's international standing. Through his efforts, the United States emerged as a truly independent power, no longer under the influence of European nations. The experience and policies he developed during this period would later serve as the foundation for his presidency. James Monroe's presidency and the Monroe Doctrine. When James Monroe took office as president, the United States was entering a crucial period of growth, filled with both opportunities and challenges. The nation had just emerged from war with Britain, still young but steadily asserting its place on the world stage. Monroe not only built upon the foundations laid by his predecessors, but also ushered in a period of stability and prosperity known as the Era of Good Feelings. the era of good feelings, political stability, and economic growth. Monroe assumed the presidency shortly after the War of 1812, a conflict that had strengthened American nationalism and reaffirmed the country's independence. Recognizing the need to solidify the nation's strength, he focused on economic development, infrastructure improvements, and political unity. One of the most notable aspects of his administration was the reduction of partisan divisions, making the political landscape more stable than in previous years. Monroe implemented several key policies to strengthen the U.S. economy, including infrastructure development. He supported the construction of roads, canals, and other major transportation projects to better connect different regions of the country and boost trade. Economic protectionism. To reduce reliance on European imports, Monroe's administration adopted protective measures that helped American industries grow. Westward expansion. He continued efforts to expand the U.S. frontier, providing opportunities for settlers to move westward and cultivate new lands. In addition to economic policies, Monroe made significant diplomatic achievements in resolving territorial disputes. His administration successfully negotiated the Adams-Oens Treaty with Spain, securing Florida for the United States without resorting to war. This not only expanded U.S. influence in the Southeast, but also strengthened its western borders. Foreign policy and the Monroe Doctrine. Monroe's most lasting legacy came from his strategic approach to foreign policy, particularly through the Monroe Doctrine, a defining statement of American diplomacy. At the time, Europe was undergoing major upheavals. With Napoleon's downfall, European powers like Britain, France, Spain, and Portugal were attempting to reclaim influence worldwide. Many European nations sought to intervene in the affairs of Latin America, where independence movements were gaining momentum. In response, Monroe made a bold declaration in 1823. 1. European nations must not establish new colonies or interfere with the affairs of countries in the Americas. 2. The United States would not interfere in European wars or internal conflicts. 3. Any European intervention in the Western Hemisphere would be considered a threat to U.S. security. The Monroe Doctrine was more than just a statement. It became the foundation of U.S. foreign policy for over a century. It firmly established the idea that the Americas were off-limits to European colonization, reinforcing the notion that America belongs to Americans. Initially, the doctrine was symbolic, as the U.S. lacked the military power to enforce it. However, in the long run, it shaped American diplomacy, justifying U.S. interventions in Latin America in later decades to protect national interests. The legacy of Monroe's presidency. Through his policies and leadership, Monroe guided the United States into a period of sustained growth and stability. The era of good feelings helped unify the nation, while the Monroe Doctrine redefined America's global stance. After serving 2 terms, Monroe left office with a significant legacy. Though no longer in power, the principles he established continued to shape U.S. policies for years to come. The Monroe Doctrine not only protected the Americas from European intervention, but also paved the way for U.S. expansion and influence in the 20th century. Today, it remains one of the most important declarations in American political history, marking the transition of the United States from a young republic to a rising global power. Legacy and influence of James Monroe. After leaving office, James Monroe left behind a significant legacy across multiple areas, from territorial expansion and national sovereignty to shaping U.S. foreign policy. His contributions not only impacted his own era, but also influenced generations of leaders that followed. The influence of the Monroe Doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine remains Monroe's most significant legacy, shaping U.S. foreign policy for centuries. Initially a political statement, it gradually evolved into a foundational principle that allowed the U.S. to expand its influence and protect its strategic interests. 19th century. The Monroe Doctrine was used to justify U.S. interventions in Latin America. By the mid-century, it was invoked to oppose British and French interference in South American nations. By the late 19th century, President Theodore Roosevelt expanded it into the Big Stick policy, asserting the U.S.'s right to intervene in Latin American affairs to protect its interests. 20th century. The doctrine continued to shape America's role on the world stage, especially during the Cold War, when the U.S. viewed Soviet actions in the Americas as violations of Monroe's principles. President John F. Kennedy cited it during the Cuban Missile Crisis, reinforcing America's stance against foreign military presence in the Western Hemisphere. Monroe's role in U.S. territorial expansion. One of Monroe's greatest achievements was expanding U.S. territory. His diplomatic efforts and policies helped strengthen the country both geographically and strategically. Louisiana Purchase, 1803. Though not president at the time, Monroe played a key role in negotiating with Napoleon to complete this deal, doubling the size of the U.S. Adams-Onis Treaty, 1819. This agreement secured Florida from Spain without war and established clear western borders. Westward expansion. Monroe's policies encouraged migration and settlement in the West, paving the way for future economic development and resource exploitation. These actions laid the foundation for the Manifest Destiny ideology, which held that the U.S. was destined to expand across the continent. Strengthening national unity. Monroe took office during a period of post-war turbulence, with pressing national challenges such as political party conflicts. The Federalist Party and Democratic Republicans were deeply divided, leading to political instability. Economic differences. The North's industrial economy clashed with the South's agriculture-based, slave-dependent economy. Westward expansion issues. Growth raised questions about land ownership, Native American relations, and legal systems in new territories. To address these tensions, Monroe pursued policies that reduced political discord and promoted national unity. His neutral stance on party conflicts and emphasis on national interest over partisan agendas helped usher in the era of good feelings, a rare period of reduced political strife. Challenges and limitations of Monroe's legacy. Despite his successes, Monroe faced several challenges and limitations. Slavery debate. The expansion of U.S. territory led to conflicts over whether new states should allow slavery. The Missouri Compromise, 1820, temporarily balanced the number of free and slave states but failed to resolve North-South tensions permanently. Native American relations. Westward expansion led to increased conflicts with Native American tribes. While Monroe was not as aggressive in Native American policies as later presidents, his administration continued to push treaties that forced indigenous peoples to cede land. Economic crisis. The Panic of 1819, a severe financial downturn, disrupted the economy, hurting businesses and citizens despite the overall growth during Monroe's presidency. Final years and historical recognition. After leaving office, Monroe struggled financially, having dedicated much of his life to public service without accumulating wealth. He was forced to sell property to pay off debts. Monroe passed away on July 4, 1831, coincidentally the same date as former presidents Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, reinforcing his symbolic connection to America's founding generation. Today, Monroe is recognized as one of the most influential U.S. presidents. His name is honored in numerous places, including Monroe cities and counties across the country and James Monroe University. His foreign policy vision and commitment to national unity continue to shape American history.